Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the Talkin Kop. We're here for full-time match reaction. It has finished at Anfield, Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2, in a game that has certainly got the people in the chat going because there is a fair bit to talk about. We were to be joined by our regular friend Kev O'Sullivan, but I believe he is an ice mummy at this point, buried under a massive 2 inches of snow in Cork. So the entire county has shut down completely, and Kev does not have power. So I don't even know if he got to watch the game, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. Chris, you're the closest out of the three of us. You want to go over and help shovel Kev out, please?
No. To be honest, he's probably best not knowing what happened.
It was a blessing in disguise. He didn't even know it.
Honestly, I wish it'd been fucking snowed off.
Well, yeah, now we say that.
You got to watch the games, good or bad. You got to watch them all regardless. But, I mean, it's a point you got to be happy with when you look back at that whole 90 minutes in retrospect, don't you, Chris? Because I don't think we were even worth a draw.
I think we got away with it. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna say I'm happy because I'm not. I'm absolutely raging and fuming with that non-performance by a lot of the squad. There's probably a couple we can say a few positive things. The majority of them were dog shit, absolute dog shit. That was up there with the Palace game, not Palace game, sorry, Forest game. It was that level of ineptitude, and I hate to say it, we got outrun and outworked by that Manchester United side, who are, and I know someone in the chat will come and say, oh, we said 3-0, 3-1, I think 4-0. That side should be getting beat 3-0, 4-0. They are fucking terrible. And they outworked us. And they made us look ordinary. And that, the players had to look at themselves. The manager to a certain extent has to look at himself. I think some of his changes didn't work. He's been pretty good at half-time and getting the team to play better. I don't think Liverpool played much better second half. And I think when the subs came on, with the exception of Bradley, I don't think the subs did anything. It was very Nottingham Forest. Now, the only benefit, and this is the low bar it is the benefit of having a 6-point gap with a game in hand is it allows you to have the odd fuck up like this. And as you're saying, first time we looked nervous, maybe, but you could also say you could be arguing that with Arsenal because Arsenal didn't look secure against Brighton at 1-0. So, this is probably the jits of going for a title. Arsenal haven't done it for 20 years. Liverpool haven't done it for a few years, and for some of these guys, it's only their second ever title run that they're going for. But yeah, it was all round inept. And look, credit to their manager. I think he tweaked their way they played. He didn't tweak the formation, but he tweaked the style they played to make sure they overloaded us in the midfield, and then looked for that clipped ball over the fullback. And Liverpool were just too fucking thick to realise that's the plan and didn't adapt to it. And I'll be honest, if Maguire scored at the end, as much as people show XG, Liverpool had the better chances, had more chances. I'll be honest, that performance probably deserved to get beat.
Yeah, we probably did. You mentioned Eustace's comment here. First time this season they've looked nervous. We absolutely got away with one today. Arsenal dropping points is good, but no capitalization on that. And I mean, that a lot of other people here, Scouser Pete says they had heart and desire. We had nothing, our worst performance of the season. And Ashley, for me, that's the biggest piss off about this match was, like Chris said, like we got outworked by that Manchester United, like a team that is showing almost no heart and almost no desire for weeks and weeks on end now. And like they outran us, they outworked us, they outmuscled us, like all around bad from Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the number of players that come out of that looking halfway decent, I only need like 3 fingers. It was awful. I think like the performance as a whole was awful. I think the levels as a whole were awful, but there were certain people that we'll get on to talk about that I think just absolutely stunk the place out. And I think that we talked coming into this game about Liverpool's greatest threat is Liverpool themselves and whatever pressure that they put on themselves. And you know, we heard the noise coming into this week, and we all kind of optimistically said this team isn't gonna, you know, be swayed by the noise. Like, you know, they're business as usual. They're too professional to let that happen. I disagree. Based on today's performance, I disagree. And I don't just mean one player. I mean, I think the whole team had their head not in that game 100%. And, you know, whatever person is responsible for that, and, you know, you can make up your own mind, but that team was not focused today. They weren't focused at all. And it showed from the beginning to the end. And I guarantee you Slot is going to look at that and say, that's not the performance. That's not the plan that I had in mind. I think those players failed to deliver today. 100%. No excuses.
Yeah. It's there's a couple players that can be in that dressing room right now looking around at others. And I'm sure one of them is Virgil van Dijk shooting absolute daggers at the rest of that team. Cause I thought he did well in the context of things. But I mean, in terms of the lineup, I mean, it was great news coming out. Chris, you're always good for a little Twitter lineup rumor, you know, half hour, 45 minutes before the lineup drop. And you were the first one that I heard mention that Ibu Konate was going to start. And that was a very nice surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought he'd be on the bench. I didn't think he'd start. So he did look rusty, but I'll be honest, if we started him today, we started him Wednesday, he would look rusty because he's been out for 6 weeks. But for him to start that game, I would say he's been fit or close to fit longer than Slot's been letting on. And listen, look, Slot doesn't have to tell you the truth. So I was pleased there because I thought that is his that's his main back four. You know, when everyone's fit, that's the back four he normally picks. It might not be going forward, but we'll come to that. But you know, it's not. I mean, people say it's a slight in Kwanzaa. He doesn't trust Kwanzaa. I just think his top two centre backs are Van Dijk and Konate, and as long as they're fit, they're going to play. You know, I think Kwanzaa knows he's at least third or fourth in the pecking order, and that's just facts of life. That's the same at every club. So I was pleased with that. Probably Jones starting was a surprise, but when you hear Szoboszlai's ill, you went, okay, that makes sense. And that front three made sense because Jota still looked like he's catching fitness, and Nunes fucking knows what you're going to get. We'll come on to him as well. It's hard to find a lot of positives today.
Yeah, well, it's certainly. I mean, you take the point and you look at the table. I mean, like Riesley there says, you know, 6 points clear, game in hand, happy days. Maybe not today, you know, maybe.
No, but that gives you.
I do think we got away with one though. Like that, the point that we got today, I don't think we deserve that point.
But I suppose the happy days bit is because we've got ourselves in a position now where we are 6 points clear.
We are, but I don't want to have
with a game in hand. You give it hand.
Games.
You can't afford the odd slip up.
Yeah. Well, you can only afford that slip up so many times, and all of a sudden you've been pulled right back into the mire with the rest of the muck that is in this league. So we kind of got to get our shit sorted out. But I mean, there was some talk of you know, is it possible that Amorim might change his lineup? I didn't think there was a single hope that was ever going to happen. He goes 3-4-3 again. De Ligt, Maguire, Martinez, Mezraoui, Dalot. Menu comes back in. Ugarte comes back in. Bruno Fernandes back in. Amad Diallo and Rasmus Højlund up top for them. Pretty much exactly as you would expect from them. I mean, I was very confident before the game because how couldn't you be? You look at everything that's come before, the form that both teams are in. And, yeah, I mean, it's just we have the early chance, Ashley, 15 minutes where Mo plays a lovely pass into McAllister, who was doing great work making that run into the box. Catches his volley beautifully, and it's actually a pretty good save from Andre Onana, who's not a very good goalkeeper. And we didn't really capitalize on that. We didn't continue to, you know, put the pressure on them. Dalot picks up a yellow card in the 22nd minute for holding Mo Salah, which is, I mean, that'll be the one for the entire year that gets given. We're 5 days in.
Well, I mean, he made it so incredibly obvious.
Yeah, but then similar to but that's the frustration is. We then didn't attack him the rest of the half. Yeah. He got him on the yellow card and he can't touch Mo Salah. Go at him. You know, Diaz, pull more to the right, you know, go at the one on the booking. You know, if he's stupid enough to get himself booked early, go for him. Because I guarantee if one of ours got booked early, that's who they'd run at. Yeah. You know, basic football.
It happens time and time again. I can think of multiple occasions. I mean, we played Fulham at the start of last season. I think Kenny Tete picked up a yellow card
Yeah,
like 3 minutes into the game, and then it was like I can't remember if it was Gakpo or Diaz playing on the
Yeah,
left
it was
that day.
Diaz.
But it was like they just went like, "Oh, I don't want the ball." Like, just fucking go, run at him, make him. I mean, especially Mo Salah in the form that he's in. Just before the yellow card, though, for Dallo, Ashley, Man United have their first chance of the game. Dallo makes a really nice run from deep, and he beats the high line, gets in, puts a not so nice live. It looked like a nice cross into the box, and Amad Diallo ends up heading it back towards his own goal. But that in retrospect now is the wake up call that we should have needed and should have had and should have listened to, because that was going to be the problem for the rest of the match, was those runs coming down Trent Alexander-Arnold's side.
Yeah, they targeted him. They saw him as a weakness, and he was a weakness. Like, again, zero excuses today. Absolutely, like, his positioning for that was awful. He was too square. They just got past him so incredibly easy. And the number of times throughout the game that you just saw him walking or barely jogging. And I think that Bradley did more in the last 10 minutes of that game than Trent did the entire game. I'm not even exaggerating. I genuinely think he showed more passion in the last 15 minutes of that game than Trent did. And like, I don't want to be one of those people that throws Trent to the wolves. That's not my goal here. And he's not the reason we lost today. But at a Man United game, you're our vice captain at home. I expect a hell of a lot more from him. A hell of a lot more. And especially because of the vice captaincy. Not because of the noise going around or anything, because you are a local player playing for this team in the biggest, arguably, game of the season, and you fucked up. So I'm done. I'm done with him today.
Well, then I better come to you, Chris, because it was looking through my notes here, it was very early on that it seemed like something was wrong with Trent. So Mainu goes off in the first minute after catching a stray Gravenberch boot in the head, and he gets whistled back, or he gets waved back onto the field, and Trent just has absolutely no awareness that he's there, and Mainu just comes from behind him, steals the ball from him, and you're not seeing that running back. But it was the passing from him today, Chris, because I mean, Trent had a shot that was blocked at 12 minutes. The rebound came to him. He laid it off to Diaz, who ballooned it over the bar. And that was kind of about it in terms of attacking threat from our vaunted right back. But some of the balls that he played into the middle of the park were beyond bonehead.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm seeing in the chat now, his head's in Madrid. There are certain accounts that normally are in his here who are losing their shit Friday night about him going, now want him sold for 20 million. It's one flip from the other. But look, if you want to know what I thought of Trent tonight, I thought defensively, he was non-existent. It was the people who say Trent can't defend. This is the sort of performance where, it's just show it, because he just had no interest of looking what was behind him. He wasn't sprinting to get back. His set pieces were garbage. His passing was woeful. They were brain dead. He was getting himself into odd positions, just all round awful. And actually said it to us in our chat soon as he looks like someone who's had his name dragged through the mud for the last week because of what came out over the Madrid thing. Probably is, but guess what? You want to play the game, take it on the chin. There are two other fellas there who are also playing the game and want to get contract extensions, but they turned up when it mattered. I'm sorry, Trent, you just didn't turn up today, and you'll be rightly criticised. And there's no sugarcoat. I mean, people now saying, "Oh, maybe he's carrying an injury." Then don't fucking start him. If he's injured, don't start him. And I don't think he is injured. He was just dog shit today. It's nothing to do with his head being in Madrid. He had an absolute mare, and he didn't get his head out of it. And all I could say is, I think Bradley has only just made the bench fitness-wise, because if he was anything close to fully fit, Trent would have got off at half-time.
I think the reason pretty telling that he got pulled.
Yeah, I think Bradley only came on. Yeah, Bradley only came on for the last 5 minutes. He's like, I've got to take him off now, and I'm going to have to risk Bradley. That's what it looked like, because I think Bradley's probably only just come back, only just back into training, only just made the bench. But listen, it's up to Slot. We'll see what it wants to do. If it was me, I'd say to Trent, get ready for Accrington Stanley, because you're playing in that. Enjoy. Bradley, get ready. You're doing Tottenham. You're doing Forest. And give him a wake-up call. Because it'll either kick him out of his funk, or if he sulks, he sulks. But he's not sulking on the pitch.
I think that's key. If you're gonna have that attitude and that's the way you want to deal with this, go deal with it off the pitch. Go deal with it in the dressing room. I don't even want him on the bench if that's how he's going to deal with it. Because like, they are capable of pulling this team's performance down. I don't care what anyone says. We are not above that. Like, every single team on this planet is capable of having the mood be pulled down by players.
I think, listen, don't get me wrong. If Robertson was very indifferent, Canate looked a bit off it, but I'll, 6 weeks out, I can accept that.
First game back.
I don't think Gravenberch was fantastic. I think he had some flashes. I thought McAllister had the odd flash. Jones, I thought, was really poor. He had a poor game. Gakpo, nice goal, but largely anonymous. Salah, when we got on the ball, set up some of our best chances, took his pen very nice. Diaz, I forgot, was on the pitch. I generally forgot he was playing. So that's 6 or 7 players you name in there. And when you've got 6 or 7 players not playing well, and to be fair to Man United, players who we malign and take the piss out of did the jobs and did their jobs better. The midfield two of Maino and Ugarte got around the pitch. They were quite clever, Ahmad and Bruno, who dropped deeper to almost make it a box of 4, which outnumbered us. They were, and I think Slot was probably a bit slow to react to that. So it isn't just a Trent thing. It's just, but that's the problem is, John was saying they all tried Trent, but he's not even bother. He just was off it. It's easy because his body language and all that to say, oh, he wasn't asked, he was bothered. Trust me, for that second goal, there's plenty who could get back quicker and stop it, in my opinion. Not just Trent.
Yeah, we'll get in because the second half was markedly more exciting than the first half was. There's a real dearth of important things, as far as I can see, that happened in the first half. Just before the half-hour mark, Gravenberch has a nice little swivel in the middle of the park, gets a good shot up, it goes just wide, just absolutely left Kobe Mainu for dead. And then Ashley, just as we're getting kind of close to the halftime break, the world's best goalkeeper comes up and does the thing that we absolutely love him for, and that is making a big 1v1 save. Rasmus Højlund gets in behind, and Ali comes out and smothers it. And, getting into that, just get to halftime. Don't concede here now. But that's why you employ a good goalkeeper.
It is, but I don't want to have to depend on him because our defense looks like Swiss cheese, because that's what it looked like today. Honestly, we had more holes than the Man United roof. It was awful.
Although look at the pictures, the Anfield Road roof doesn't look much better.
Yeah, it was leaking too. So, but seriously, it was awful. And we made them look good. We made them look like they had well-timed runs. And that, for me, it's just unacceptable. You look at the way, I get it. I get that this is a one-off game. I understand that they show up for performances like this in ways that they don't in other games. And I understand that they did raise their level today. And credit where credit is due. They outplayed us, like we have said already. But we are a better team even on our bad days than what we performed today.
Yeah, it's this is a strong candidate to be an even worse performance in the Nottingham Forest game. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a constant go-to in Arne Slot's post-match interviews for the next 6 months, as well as that. At halftime, it was just, my thoughts were just we can't play worse. And they've played so much better than I possibly thought that they could ever play in this game. And I thought, we just have to improve, and they'll have to drop off. And Chris, we did improve in the second half in certain areas, but they kept the level up in a very surprising manner.
We were still too slow. The whole game, we were slow. There was no pace, and we can't use the excuse of, because we had plenty of pace on the pitch, but just every pass was underhit, or either underhit or he was hit 10 yards in front of someone who Usain Bolt ain't catching some of the passes we were putting in. And then at the back, we insisted on trying to pass into trouble. And to be honest, their goals came from us passing into trouble. And, we were gifted them free kicks. The biggest crime against this is they are dog shit at defending set pieces. We've seen it all season. It is their biggest Achilles heel. Ask any United fan, they'll tell you, they fear corners. Barely tested them on a corner. Doesn't matter who took it. Barely tested him. You know, rubbish.
The one corner where
That's not
Virgil
good
has the header from close after the
But
flick on. By
that's what I mean. That's not good enough against them. One corner out of the 10, 12 we had.
Well, the biggest for
tested.
me on that exact point, Chris, is our first two corners were both from the right-hand side and we're both Trent outswingers. And it's like, what are you doing? It's like they've given up 2 Olympicos in like the last 3 games. Like, put it right on Onana's head.
We
Like,
saw
man.
it work one time and it caused all sorts of problems. Like, why didn't we do that more than once?
Yeah, I couldn't absolutely wrap my head around why we were trying the outswinging corners and not just like we saw it in the first like 5 or 6 matches of the season where we would crowd the center halves around the opposition goalkeeper and just put the ball right on top of them and just see what happens. Let them, have a bit of a mare inside of their own box and let's see where it goes. But we come out of the half. There's no changes at halftime. I agree with you, Bracky, in terms of Bradley clearly didn't have the minutes in his legs, or else I think you make that Trent change at halftime as well too, because it was just so obvious that they were going to get joy coming down our right hand side. Both teams had one decent chance in the first half, but other than that, they definitely edged it in terms of performance and effort levels and all the other intangibles that go along with it. In terms of effort levels, though, we would love it if you guys could put in a nice effort and help us raise our fundraising targets. That would be absolutely fantastic. We're continuing to raise money for fan-supporting food banks in Liverpool, the Lighthouse Cafe in Dublin, 2 groups doing absolutely wonderful work for people that are underfed in both the communities in Liverpool and in Dublin. You'll find the GoFundMe link in the show description on any of the Talkin Kop social media. Please, if you can, donate a few bucks into there. Help keep us ticking along as we head towards our fundraising target. Share it amongst your social media. Put it up on Blue Sky if you're into all that goodness. Ashley, you want to talk about their first goal?
Sure, if I have to.
Well, I mean,
get eaten by that jockey. Honestly, that makes it even worse.
I know, and especially
a centre back walking through and smashing it. Ridiculous.
It's the defending from it all. I mean, Trent gets the ball where we've seen him have the ball and be dangerous many, many times, or just play a simple pass and be smart about it. But instead, he goes for a full-on Hollywood. I don't even know if he gets his head up before he just hooks the ball into midfield. And give the butcher credit where it's due. Steps in front of, I'm not entirely sure who that ball was even aimed towards, McAllister, Gravenberch maybe. Steps in front, picks the ball up. And I mean, Ashley, nobody reacts to him. Like, it's not just Trent. Like, Trent is brutal for that goal. But it's not just him. Like, the rest of the team has to recognize that we've turned the ball over, and now we have to actually go back and play defense again. And instead, they just let Martinez lay the ball to Bruno Fernandes and carry on through.
I think, that's like a great example of not only Trent's attitude today, but also the team's attitude, because I think that one of the main characteristics of Slot is that he's made this team run back every single time that there's a defensive situation. There's cover there, and it's one of the main changes that we've seen from Klopp's system, where everything was so gung-ho and there wasn't that security blanket. And you could see there just wasn't a collective effort here to do the dog work. There just wasn't across the whole team. And whether or not that's because they showed up with that kind of entitled attitude that we said that would be our undoing. That was our undoing today. Like, we did not graft in the way that we needed to. And again, like, I sound like I'm digging a grave for Trent. I'm not trying to, but he was absolutely walking toward those, like, when those players were coming at him, he was walking, and that is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Like, I'm sorry. I'm done with it. I'm really pissed off.
Well, unfortunately for you, Ashley, we're going to have a second
and there's more to come. Yay.
I know. Big so. I wouldn't accept that from my daughter at an under 12s game. My daughter's walking back to defend. She did about it, and she did about it from her coach. So I don't expect a professional footballer to sort of meander. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it is you and your daughter's fault for not going to the game today.
Well, I think I'm quite glad they didn't go. Imagine having to go in the bitter cold to watch that. You know, Jesus Christ.
Couldn't get a ticket. It sounded like there was hundreds of them available before kickoff.
No. Well, some people said it was full, so plenty got them.
A little bit of rain and cold, and people start giving up their tickets. Absolutely ridiculous. Thoughts on their first goal, Chris? I mean, it's a great finish from Martinez, I believe that's his weak foot, just absolutely leathers it. I don't think that you can have too many complaints about Allison.
Not from that range. Trent should do better. He should be stronger. Ibu's too slow to get across. You know, it was all round average. But, you know, it came from us giving the ball away again. And then I think we all laughed because I think I missed going, we've done fuck all in this game, and then Gakpo scored.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was the first bit of
moment of the game.
It was the first bit of calmness where McAllister, you know, put his foot on the ball, look, and it was a calm pass, and it's the standard, you know, that's Gakpo's finish. You know, does little jink inside and bends it top corner. It's the classic Gakpo finish, and you're like, right, okay. I was at 1-1. I thought, oh, we should win this now because we've had the shock, we've had the wake up call, but fuck me, it didn't get much better.
No, I mean the one thing that definitely improved was the atmosphere, because it went a little quiet inside Anfield when Martinez put them up 1-0. But I mean, it's what, 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that, in between them scoring and us leveling the game up again. I think that's 10 goals in his last 15 for Gakpo, which is, I mean, he is absolutely flying at the moment. He is undroppable, completely undroppable, to the point where he was due to come off in the double substitution that was getting ready the moments before he put the ball in the net, and Arne Slot calls a quick audible at the line of scrimmage and instead takes off presumably Curtis Jones, maybe Luis Diaz. I mean, Ashley, I don't think either of those players can have too many complaints about getting the curly finger as we try to push on to go and win the game, bring on Jota and Darwin Núñez for it.
Yeah,
Diaz
I mean,
was poor.
I think every time Diaz got the ball, they absolutely cleaned him out. There were a few times in the middle of the park where there were like double tackles coming in on him. And like, yeah, Diaz isn't one to complain. He bounces back up, but I don't know. He just didn't, I think they weren't giving him the room, and credit to them. They were not letting him get into a groove, but I don't know. I actually thought that was an interesting moment in the game because, you know, he had the subs set up before when we were a goal down. And they made sense when we were a goal down. But then we scored the goal, and, you know, the question could be asked, you know, do you stick with your initial decision on those subs, and do you stick with your convictions, or do you decide to twist there? And I think looking back on it, it might not have been the best call. I think we lost a little bit of defensive stability there. I know that he was going for it. I know it was a very offensive change to put Jota and Núñez on and then to pull Jones and Diaz off. And even though I don't think it was Jones's best game, I think he like dallied on the ball way too much. I do think that we lost like whatever balance we did have. I think we lost it, and I feel like our defense was even more exposed after that change. And I think there were a few people that were calling for Endo, and I get it. I mean, at first I was like, what was he going to bring? But in retrospect, I get it. I think the defensive stability was all over the shop today. And I think, you know, again, it's one of those things. If it works, we probably would have been like, it was a masterstroke. It didn't work though.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's always easy to kind of hindsight 2020 say, well, you know, maybe you make a triple sub and you bring Endo on there to help shore it up. But nobody's heads were in it at all. I do have to point out there's a series of United corners that take place just after the hour mark. I thought we looked more dangerous from their corners than they did. I thought we looked more likely to break down the other end and go and score. And it is the only positive that I can say about Darwin Núñez's 30-minute plus cameo today was when he took the ball after a United corner and broke down and got a yellow card off of Matthias de Ligt. Because other than that,
he's fucking brain dead.
Was that a good thing that he did that? Because
well, I mean, he's
now
kept
banned
the ball
for Forest.
No, he means getting de Ligt when he got de Ligt booked.
Oh, okay.
When he
I thought you were talking about the reverse. Okay,
I mean, that doesn't matter. If Darwin getting suspended at this point really.
But honestly, it was the most stupid yellow card as well. It's the most obvious one that gets you a yellow card that he didn't need to do. But I mean, that's literally all he did all game. What a free kick and got himself booked. That was it. That was his whole impact in the game. Honestly.
Horrific. Absolutely horrific. I mean, Ashley, that I don't have in my notes how the handball came about, but all I know is that this is not a natural position for a defender's arm to be in. Like, first replay, and it was like, well, that's handball.
Yeah, I was actually shocked that it wasn't called initially on the field because
I
it was
wasn't.
way up here.
It's Michael.
Granted,
It's Michael.
I know
It's Michael Oliver.
that was going to be my next point. But yeah, there was no way whatsoever that wasn't a very clear outside of the silhouette, hand above the head, all the boxes. You know, and thank God that VAR actually did something, because I feel like they've changed the rules so much that the bar is almost impossibly high to get people to, you know, go to the monitor these days. So that was a minor refreshing thing today in the land of absolutely horrible things that was this game. But yeah, I mean, it's Mo Salah. Like, he does what Mo Salah does. You know, Onana does guess the right way. I actually don't think it was quite as convincing as I would have liked it to have been.
No.
You know, I thought he was going to go with power. I thought he was going to go a little bit higher. I thought it was actually a pretty poor penalty and he lucked out, because that could have gone quite wrong and it would have been in keeping with our performance today. So fair play to Mo. You know, it wasn't the glorious shirt off celebration with the contract that I had envisioned, but you know, he still gets his goal. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. Level with Thierry Henry, hasn't he?
Yes.
Not bad company to be in, to be fair.
Yep, that's his 18th goal so far. He's still, you know, still top of that table. So there's something.
Yeah, and I mean, it's his 16th goal in 17 games against Manchester United, which is just an outrageous record. Like, it's the goal return on it. I mean, Chris, if the world is a terrible place and this is a United podcast, we're probably wondering why Andre Onana isn't saving that penalty. Like, Mo catches it with a lot of power, but that's in that perfect savable area, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still low. It's low and it's in that awkward position. Just so that's one of them. If a keeper saves it, keeper saves it. I always think with those sort of things, there's very little blaming a keeper there. You'd be more blaming De Ligt as, why the fuck's your hand up? There's no need for his hand to be up. If anything, it looks like the flick and he scared the ball. It's like he scared the ball. Oh shit, the ball's there. That's what it looked like.
I think he might have slipped.
So now, if I'm a United podcast, I'm probably looking at the end going, fuck me, had we not nick it? Because they should have done.
If it had fallen to anyone other than Maguire, we would have been talking about a loss right now.
Although Gary Neville was saying in the after he finished groaning that they'd missed, he did think he was slightly offside. Ahmad, who crossed it.
I thought so too.
So he said, so he might not have counted it. He probably wouldn't have counted anyway. But to be honest, and I hate to say it, they deserved at least a draw out of that. You know, I think I get the XG because I think we had a couple of big chances in the first half that we, you know, Onana first does some good saves. I just thought all round their performance of the ball was better. But again, their equaliser comes from us gifting the ball away. Trent's miles up the pitch. Listen, that's part of the game, but he didn't need to be there. Ibu is so slow getting over to try and stop the cross. He does well with the cross because he puts it behind, so Virgil can't cut it out. And Robertson, the guy, Ahmad gets there before Robertson, and it doesn't come to the glory. He's just too slow to react to it. Now, whether he's expecting the cross along the bottom rather than cut back, but yeah, all round, both fullbacks didn't have good games, defensively especially.
No, neither of them stood out for the right reason.
Like, seeing their second goal on the replay, you can just see, like, Robertson checks to see where Ahmad is, and then he looks back towards the ball, and Ahmad just stops his runoff. And I think it's actually kind of a poorly hit cross. Like, I don't think that Garnacho was trying to play that ball to Ahmad. I think he's trying to fizz it across to, I think Boylan was still on the pitch at that point. You get a little bit of luck, but I mean, Andy Robertson still needs to have eyes on where his man is. And I think what you were saying there about Konate being slow getting out to it, I think that's a guy who hasn't played in 6 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it's been. He was just done. Like, he just didn't have that burst of pace to get out there and shut the cross down.
And he was covering for two defenders, so
well, one of them was himself. So.
And the one thing I will say, I don't think it's an excuse for them playing. There were at one point 4 people on that pitch that all were basically playing with a yellow card, with Ibu, Gravenberch, Gakpo, and Nunes, and they couldn't put in a tackle. So, you know, credit for them not getting booked, except for Nunes and his brain deadness. But I do also think that might have played a role in kind of just the lack of physicality.
At least that's white now, isn't it? It's 10 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Silver line
number 2.
So, which, because most, if you got to say for Forest, if you had to lose one of them for Forest, it probably is Nunes, because you probably do want a Canate, a Gravenberch, and a Gakpo for Forest away. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, if we play like
that's a real tough bar to get over there. Who out of those four would you rather have suspended?
yeah, but I'm telling you now, if we play this against Forest away, Forest will win.
Yeah.
And if we play it at Brentford away, Brentford will win. So what I'm hoping is this has the same reaction as I know today's a draw, but like the Forest defeat, where it is a proper kick up the arse. And look, if I'm honest, I think the manager should have brought Endo on at 2-1. I do think at 2-1 he should have brought Endo on for the last 15, and just basically said, do what you're good at, which is cover the ground, and just get it clear, and just literally do that.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if Endo is going to be in the space on that right-hand side in the gap where the ball falls in the build-up to their second goal. But who the hell knows where he'd be? I mean, judging from his performance in the cup, he would be literally everywhere because that's what Endo does. I mean, 81st minute, it was I reached Ashley levels of done with it. Another just fucking terrible pass from Trent under no pressure.
Straight into them on the break. Straight into them.
Oh,
like he might as well have been wearing a white shirt.
He might have needed a back brace after.
He probably will be wearing a white shirt at some point. The way this is
like,
going.
I mean, Virgil van Dijk looked like he wanted to kill him.
Yeah,
kill him. And it was
rightfully so.
Yeah, and it was about the 27th time that Virgil had to go and sweep up a mess, on that right-hand side of our defense and keep the ball from coming into the box in the dangerous area. Trent takes a yellow card after that. I'll give him credit for that. That was a good yellow card. Bruno Fernandes is on the break. He gets past Trent, and Trent just catches up to him. I think it was the only time he ran in the whole game. Pulls Bruno back, an obvious yellow card, and it was like, fine, because they looked like they were going to be dangerous from that. So brilliant. Take the yellow card there, and then, thank God, he gets the hook, and Connor Bradley comes on. And, I mean, Ashley, I've made you talk about Trent, and it's got you furious, so how about you have just a few minutes of talking about Connor Bradley instead, because he has a chance at the end.
Yeah, he has a chance at the end. I mean, I just threw in a stat there. Trent didn't win a single duel for us during the entire 86 minutes he played. It took Connor Bradley less than 60 seconds to win his first duel after coming on. And that to me was just indicative of the performance in the whole game. There was a point, like, Elliot didn't do much when he came on, but there was a point where him and Bradley were both like absolutely gung-ho trying to get the ball on the edge of the touchline right in front of our bench. And the effort that they put in like the 5 minutes that they came on, it was like seeing what we were missing from the entire game. And they're young and they're full of energy and it's great. But I truly wish that especially Bradley could have had a little bit more time if he was more fit. The chance that he had, he's an interesting player given like the number of times he actually gets in on goal. I think there was a stat too as well about him providing more assists than Trent recently. So I don't know. I think the future is bright there. I am not as worried as I thought I was going to be about that. But I don't know. I don't know where to take this, guys. I don't really have a happy ending here. I thought that maybe we would rally at the end and pull off some sort of miraculous win where we could come on and be like, this is the sign of champions and we rally even though we play bad. And we just kind of flopped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did look like we were going to get a grandstand miracle finish. I mean, 88th minute, they have a corner. It's played short. Bruno Fernandes gets the ball back, tries a cheeky little near post shot. Allison saves it, spills it around. They have another corner. We counter down the other end. That ends with the Bradley chance where he nutmegs, I think it was Martinez at that point. Probably a cross that he's going for. If he'd actually looked to be shooting, he probably puts that in because Onana was fucking nowhere to be found at his near post. Like, terrible positioning from him. And then from that corner is the in-swinging corner. McAllister flicks it on. Van Dijk heads it 2 feet either side of Onana, and we know how slow he is to move across his line. That's a goal. But instead, it nestles safely into his hands, and it seemed like Chris, oh, there it is. That's it. That's probably the last chance. And then, holy shit. I thought I was going to be sick at the end. Like, I do think it was offside. I think it was Xerxes on the right wing that picks the ball up. I'm pretty sure he was offside from the one replay that I saw of it. He looks like he's a shoulder or so ahead.
Yeah, it looked like it. Sky seemed to be saying they thought what a chance to win it. And then when they should have finished, they go, oh, actually, it looks a bit off. So he probably wouldn't have counted.
Shades of last season against United in the FA Cup. Like, just how do we throw it away?
Yeah, it does feel a bit like that. But listen, as rough as today feels, and it does feel rough, I'd rather feel like this, drawing, but where we are in the league, than where we have been. So what you've got to hope is we use this to a bit of a kickstart, because you are going to have the odd bad performance. You're not going to win every game. Even City, who won 5 of the last 6 leagues, very rarely win it with with like 10 games to go. Even when we were chasing them, we got it down to last game. Even Arsenal got them down to a couple of games to go. So, that's the norm. So you are going to have these dips, but I suppose Liverpool, other than Forest, have gotten to a nice habit of, if you're not going to win, you make sure you don't lose. They tried the fucking best today to make sure they lost. They were trying everything they could to throw it away today. But fuck me. Yeah, it's just, I'm hoping this is just one of those frustrations, kick up the arse. Maybe we're going to win the league in February, not January, I'm trying to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit smiley.
I like, that's positivity.
I'm trying, but,
that's 100% serious.
It's hard, but honestly, if I'm Trent, don't watch Fatback 4 later, because you think this is bad. It's going to be horrendous. It's going to be horrendous.
I double-checked with Shawnee. Shawnee Lawson is, in fact, going to be on the show tonight. The
numbers of that show just skyrocketed.
I know.
Make sure you like the stream if you want Shawnee to actually show up.
Yeah. So there's that. But also, if Trent thought social media was bad when the Spanish reports came out that he was going to be, he was happy to go. Fuck me, lad. You're gonna really know about it now. I've just seen Lewis Steele, who writes for the Daily Mail. He's one of the main Liverpool writers, one of the main ones on the patch now. He said he heard shouts in the crowd of, Trent, if you don't want to be here, just fuck off now, lad. There was a few of them. Even if you're hearing those sort of shouts in the crowd, you've really got to. You've got to say, I think Trent's at that point now where he's got to basically say, I'm staying, I'm going.
Yeah, you can't have this one foot
and make your decision. Even if the decision is, I'm going at the end of the season, everyone knows, line under the sand, if you like it, you don't like it, it's done. Because we did see the links from last night from John Richardson saying what Trent's been offered. It's plausible, but John Richardson doesn't have the best hit record with Liverpool, so I am taking that with a massive grain of salt. Because according to John Richardson, Salah was definitely going to Saudi last summer, and it never ever materialised. So we will see. He also said he also said Salah had signed his new contract about 3 weeks ago. We're still waiting for that to be announced.
If you just say enough shit, eventually something's right, and then you can go back and retweet your own tweet and be like, "Look at how clever I am."
Well, interestingly, Roy Keane's been quite complimentary about Liverpool, saying, "If I was Liverpool, I wouldn't be worried. I wouldn't be bothered about that draw." He said, "Look at City, look at Arsenal, look at Chelsea with the points they're dropping, where Liverpool are compared to them." He goes, "Take it on the chin, move on." Which is an interesting. Obviously, that's what he was. He has been in winning title races, so he's trying to say, look, these things do happen. You have to sort of brush it off, just make sure it's not a habit.
Yeah, where is that? Hold on, I gotta go back here.
The one I just put in, because that to me is the stat that sums up the whole game.
Just hold on a sec. Here. I just want to get to this one. As soon as I mentioned Shawnee, the chat just kind of exploded. So I had to scroll back up and find this one from Jimbo Cop. It says, we once celebrated getting a 2-2, but they still won the league. Tables have turned. Would rather we win the league. And that is a nice positive way, I think, of putting it there. Where's Ashley? Liverpool are the first side not to make a single tackle in the first half of a Premier League game this season. Fuck a duck. That is terrible.
Awful.
Yeah. All right.
And Thor's right, saying he remembers Liverpool sides turning up just for the Man United game, like as their cut foul. Yeah, I remember that. I remember those days where you just really wanted to beat United, then you go get beat by Fulham next week. That was kind of what Liverpool did, and that may be what United do. But
yeah,
rubbish.
Well, you have to. How you need to feel about this match will be known in the fullness of time. If we go out and get results in our next 3 matches, everyth's hunky-dory and we don't have to be too bad about it. But if this is the start of a string of poor results, then you're going to look back at this and be like, oh, that was the warning signs that we all kind of ignored. But I'll come around and get everybody's man of the match honorable mention, and Trent needs to improve. I'll run through some of the quotes here from Ashley, which I'm really quite looking forward to, because I'm sure a fuming Virgil van Dijk was talked to after the match. He said, it could have been a lot worse if we were absolutely honest with ourselves. They had a big chance in the end that could have been a lot worse than where we are now. I'm definitely disappointed with dropping points at home, but it is what it is, and we have to move on, and we will. We found the 2-1, and then it's about trying to manage the game and keep the ball for longer than 3 or 4 passes. We lost the ball too easily at times, and then we were more open than we should have been. We're not perfect. We're still learning, and we have to learn from this as well. On underestimating Manchester United, Virgil says, that's all the media talk. It's nothing to do with us. We prepared for a very tough game like we have seen today. We didn't think any of that. Alexis McAllister, drawing the short straw media duties as well, says, the result is not good enough. The performance was not as good as we wanted, but at the end of the day, it was a fair result. He's being very nice. We didn't play as we wanted, conceded too many chances, and had opportunities to score more goals. Alexis continues, the effort was there. The mentality was there because we came back, but when you're 2-1 at 75 minutes, you have to defend better. Yeah. McAllister, and we couldn't do it, so we have to think about what we did wrong and move on. Now, the required Knott's Forest comments from Arne Slot. Says they got a big chance just before the end, so we feel a bit relieved. That might not be the story of the game overall, in my opinion. We created much more chances than them. Point is something to take, but if I look back tomorrow, I'd hope for more. Slot says, we play against many good individuals. You could see it again, and it was a chance for them to show themselves against us more than in other games, to compete with the best in the league. If you look at the game back in the first 20 minutes, we had 3 open chances. That's being kind of generous. I checked my notes. They weren't that good. Arnie says, we weren't surprised with anything they did. They played this style for a few weeks. Maybe the only thing that was a bit different was they mostly kicked the ball long, which should be able to suss that out and make the adjustments. I mean, I don't know who to come to first. I'll come to Ashley first because I made her talk about Trent when it was obviously getting her blood pressure up. Man of the match, must improve, and honorable mention. I did those in the wrong order, but you know what I'm after. Ashley?
Okay. Man of the match is McAllister. I think he showed up. He played with effort. He was creative when he needed to be, and he kept whatever rhythm he could keep going. Honorable mention is Virgil for holding together the shit show that was the back line. It needs to do better as Trent. Needs to piss off as Trent if this is the way he's going to show up. If he wants to do better and he wants to improve and he wants to, be part of this team until the end of the season or wherever it is that he's going to go, fine. But you have to perform, and you can't let this shit get into your head. If you're going to let the shit get into your head, get off the pitch.
Yeah. Chris?
I'll go Virgil man of the match because I thought he was really one of the defence who actually did well and he was trying his best. And look, United's tactic was trying to avoid him because that's who's getting all the blocks in. I agree with McAllister for honourable mention. I thought he was, he showed spells of what he did. Some people didn't think he played very well. I think he was the best of the midfield by a comfortable mile. I think a lot of our best chances to get to feed Mo came from McAllister. Must do better. Both fullbacks. Both were equally as shit. For different reasons, but both were equally as shit, I thought. So I'm not going to just dig out trends. I also thought Robbo had a pretty average game. So I think both of them need to do better and need to do better quickly. And listen, we've got Spurs on Wednesday, and I expect Liverpool to go pretty strong in that, to be honest. So there's your chance to wake up, boys. You already won there once, but a few of them do need a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, it's a good game to bounce back into because the Dragons didn't get hurt yesterday, so they're down.
Yeah, but who knows?
Literally.
But they're still, you know what? They are still dangerous in attack, and so if we play like this, I don't want to show up thinking we're going to cruise by them just because we can score. Because if our defense is like this, we are also going to get scored against. Yeah, absolutely. I would give my man of the match to Virgil van Dijk. I just thought he had so many interventions throughout the game that just stymied so much of any of the attacking threat that they had. And he had a lot of ground to cover to make up for a leggy Ibu Konate and a completely absent set of fullbacks. Because, he was the only one out of that back four that actually came out of that game with any amount of credit. Honorable mention, I would say
you guys both mentioned McAllister. I would say Gravenberch wasn't terrible. He had some really nice moves in the middle of the park where he just takes a look when the ball's coming to him and he sees where the man's coming to mark him from, and he just makes a little body swerve that's so Thiago-like, and then he just stretches those legs out and starts running with it. So it wasn't his best game by any stretch, but he's had some incredible games this season, so it's a very high bar for Ryan Gravenberch. And needs to do better. I mean, there's so many obvious candidates. I mean, pretty much the whole team. I would love to say Darwin Núñez, but I don't even know if it's worth my breath. So I'm going to say needs to do better would be Arne Slot, actually. I thought we'd see more of the tactical changes that we've seen throughout the game and at halftime and stuff like that negate what the opposition are trying to do to us and put us on a stronger footing going forward. And today was one of the matches where it just didn't feel like it materialized at all. So, yeah, I don't know. Anybody else have anything else to say? I think we're all kind of looking forward to 10 o'clock tonight.
I'm looking forward to a clean slate, just to wipe this off. I mean, I am looking forward to tonight, to hearing what the guys have to say. But, we thought that the Forest game was abysmal, and Slot turned it around, and we went on a run after that. So, we didn't lose today. So,
it is still, was it since the Forest lost 24 games undefeated?
Yeah. So,
Something
honestly, we're obviously in a very privileged position to be able to sit here and complain about drawing, but we understand the context here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any
final words before we go, Chris?
Imagine after all this, they announced Trent's contract extension tonight.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
It felt like at the full-time whistle, there was like a race between Richard Hughes and Trent's agent to that contract that got left on the table, that rumored $300K a week contract. And it's like, fucking go, get it. And just one's trying to rip it up and the other one's trying to sign it. So, because that was...
Yeah, and I bet your Salah's agent, who's there, he's running to Richard Hughes going, that's another fucking goal,
Yeah,
mate.
I mean, we actually performed today, unlike some people.
Yeah, Virgil's agent's probably doing the same, going, I think we deserve a few more zeros than ours.
Yeah,
just taking off Trent's.
And I mean, if that's what it takes to get it done, if that's how the numbers work out for the bean counters at FSG, that like offering Trent $300,000 a week is a hefty wedge of wages, and he did not look like he was worth $30,000 a week.
Best paid fullback in this league, and probably the world. I don't think there's anyone that's on more. Hakimi's not on more. Carvajal isn't on more. Like that would put him.
Kimmich wouldn't count as a fullback anymore, and I don't even know if he'd be on 300.
I'm not sure, but that would be a stratospheric level for a fullback if that was true.
So to put it into context, while this all should have been done much, much sooner, we all agree it should have been done sooner. If it's true, and it's a big if because of who the source is, and he doesn't want to sign at that, I'm also at the point going like, look, $300,000 a week for a fullback, as good as he is a fair offer. And if you don't want to sign that, sound. Go and enjoy Madrid. We'll find someone else. So apparently Carragher's stirring the pot.
We're harsh. They're going to be so much harsher.
Oh yeah. Also, Carragher apparently stirring the pot. As he does, about him. Looking for invites. How bad the game. And apparently Sturridge just told him to wind his neck in. But Carragher does what Carragher does, which is plays to his Sky audience.
Sturridge is actually a pretty good pundit.
Yeah, he is. He's more well balanced. He's at the moment well balanced, but I think because he dips in and out, so he can still be himself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's he gets in there for too long, and he'll get diluted down and spoiled like the rest of them all do. Because there was a time when Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher were quite good pundits, and then
again, that's when they were stuck to Monday nights and not oversaturated on telly.
Exactly. The Hollander Ultra says Trent drops that performance in Madrid, and he'd be chased out of the Bernabeu, which I think pretty much everybody here can agree with, because that was absolutely shocking from pretty much everybody wearing Liverpool red today, most namely from our soon-to-be out-of-contract fullback who's looking for a massive world record type salary going forward for a contract renewal. And a game like that kind of leaves you scratching your head wondering exactly what in the hell are you paying for? But on a positive note, still top of the table, 6 points clear. Arsenal with a game in hand. And on an even more positive note, you got Gav, you got presumably Emmett, presumably Keith, but definitely Shawnee Lawson coming in tonight. I get the strangest feeling. The if there is a swear jar, I don't think there can be a swear jar tonight because it would overflow. We'd hit our fundraising target with just a half-hour talk about Trent. The swear jar would have us up and over.
Keep the kids out of the room for this one, I think.
I mean, it's 10 p.m. on a Sunday night, and I believe school starts tomorrow, so there shouldn't be kids up
Tuesday.
They should be in bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Put the kids to bed, much like we should have done to Manchester United tonight, but we did not. So instead, we have to soldier on and keep our heads up and look forward towards Wednesday, where we take on Tottenham in the first leg of the League Cup final from the Tottenham Hotspur NFL Stadium. But thank you very much to Chris. Thank you very much to Ashley. I always get these wrong. Happy birthday to my lovely wife. Reds, keep on going. Keep your heads up. See you guys at 10 o'clock. Adios.